the ocean inhaled, and the land exhaled anew. Tamarack, dwarf pines, dune goldenrod, riverless beavers never built a society of ponds. Without their furious constructions, watery lungs never spread thin silt wings, and so we measure our topsoil in fractions. We rent box trucks to haul sling bags of compost and dark soil. We are lucky to know the scarcity, my love says. With our spades and shovels, before we press seeds into dirt, we rake the garden into mounds, ply the horse farm for aged manure, collect coffee grounds, and raid the brush dump for discarded leaves and stumps. When seed alchemy polishes soil and sun into radish or tomato, we sing hallelujah with our slicing knives, roasting pans, with our recipe and teeth. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra. Next is Paulette Laufer.
Hello, I'm Paulette Laufer, and I'm reading to you from Sturgeon Bay. Thank you for being here. A little background about the poem. I currently serve on the board of Door Shakespeare, and last year I was driving back and forth from Sturgeon Bay, where I live, to Bailey's Harbor, once a month probably for meetings, and I would pass by the wayside that I refer to in the poem. And as Estella mentioned at last night's opening for Right On, there are two waysides in Door County marking halfway to the North Pole. Now, I'd been to the Egg Harbor one, but I kept thinking I need to stop at this one. So one fall day, spontaneously, I did. I've always had a keen interest in geography, exploration, and discovery, and that's what led me to write the poem. Halfway to the North Pole with autumn in the air. If I were a true explorer, I would know how to catalog these things. A wayside pull-off spot, the weathered wooden picnic table, its adjacent grill closed for the season. Last picnicker's trash carefully sealed in a zip-top bag, small hints of late summer fading. The plaque fastened on the rock, telling me where I'm standing, halfway to the North Pole. A compass of words on the sign maps out the geographical midpoint calculation. The 45th parallel running through a point 1/2 mile south of this wayside intersection. And what to make of recent reports that the North Pole is traveling? Will someone eventually have to move this rock of a sign? Instead, I'm a scribbler of notes. How the yellow leaves of the large trees closest to Highway 57 split the sky into pockets of blue. How some feathered green adds its own backdrop to the gray metal marker. How solid Lagerquest Road sounds said aloud. Feet to the ground, slightly flattened beneath the poles of my legs, rustle of warm and cool in the air. Midway between the North Pole and the equator, ordinary wonder of a Door County day, showing me where I'm standing. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulette. Next is Laura Winkelspecht.
Hi, I'm Laura Winkelspecht. Thank you. And thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. That's awesome. This poem, there is a story behind it. I was up at the clearing taking a weekend class, and my husband, he was a biker, and so he decided to bike around Washington Island during the day while I was at this class. And while he was up there, he found this witness tree, and he needed to bring me back to see it. And so we went back to see it, And we had to drive all over that island probably from tip to tip to tip to tip to find it, because it's not exactly well marked. And for whatever reason, that landmark just stuck with me a little bit. And if you've ever seen it, it's way at the end of a road, and it's just like this trunk of a tree, and it's in a little like shelter that's like surrounded by chain link fence, and it's got a little roof on it. So it's kind of a peculiar little landmark there. So this is called the witness tree, and there's an epigraph. Here at the east end of Town Line Road stands a witness to an original survey marker from 1835. And this is from a posting at the last witness tree in Door County on Washington Island. Only its trunk still stands, marking an imaginary corner that provides no revelations and no forgiveness. Just a reminder that its lonely vigilance marks a patient justice. The deer, the finches, and the evergreens claimed this land long ago, their green signature forever stamped on a perpetual deed. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Next, we have Annette Grunseth.
Hello, everybody. I am Annette Grunseth, and I live in Alloway, which is part of Green Bay. And I think of it as the front door of Door County. And my story, my connection to Door County goes back to when I was 10 years old. My family, I grew up in Wausau with my brother and my parents, and my dad wanted to get into sailing. And he said, we need to go to Door County. So we drove 3.5 hours to Door County. And when we got there, we were at the top of the Eagle Bluff Light Tower, and we were looking out at the water. And my dad said, next year, I'm going to have a sailboat down there. And sure enough, he did. Next year, in the winter, he bought a 14-foot Seagull, which is a small sailboat. And in fact, that was part of the fleet of boats that was at the Ephraim Yacht Club for the regattas back then. So this is like, I'm 10 years old, it's about 1960, 61. And of course, when we went there to sail, we needed to have a place to stay. And my father, being frugal, selected the Malmer House. And it's a piece of history that I don't think a lot of people know about. But I remember it vividly because I'm about 10, 11 years old, and there's this kind of old house that we're staying in. And I did a little research. Christina Malmer owned the house as the Rest Haven Resort in 1908 until 1912. And then it became the Malmer House under the management of her 2 daughters for the next 20 years. And it was a rooming house. And William Malmer then, probably another family member, purchased it in the 1940s and operated it until 1964. So we were coming in at the tail end of that. And today it's on the same property as the Ephraim Shores Resort. And some people think of that as being old because that probably was constructed in the 1960s later on. So here's my poem, The Malmer House, Ephraim, 1908 to 1964. Nothing fancy, but the rooms were clean and quiet. 2 stories, 18 rooms for rent. A veranda welcomed tourists for food and lodging. Clapboard, painted white, of course. A view of Eagle Bluff across the harbor and sailboats lazily gliding by. In the early 1960s, my family stayed there. It reminded Dad of his New England home, Cape Cod-like. Family run, reasonable. Around silver bell on the front desk, press the button on top, ding ding for service. Going up the creaking stairway, the railing smelled of old wood with dust drifting in the sunlight. To a child of 10, the oldness was new to me. Frosted pink ceiling globes cast dim light on flowered wallpaper. The narrow hall was covered in mottled brown carpet. Air conditioning was an open window. White sheer curtains breathed into the screens as sun sparkled across the water. A vase stuffed with sweet scented lilac sat on the table. Beds were draped in white chenille. Down the hall, a shared bath. Thank you. And to a 10-year-old, a shared bath was kind of like, ah.
Okay. Thank you, Annette. Next, we have Estella Lauder.
Okay. This poem comes from very early in the time that we lived in Wisconsin. When we first came out here in 1969, we came to Door County that summer and bought land and built a house, a small cabin really. And very soon we began to bicycle every evening. And we bicycled by this wonderful old farmhouse, which was owned by Bertha and Walter Reinhardt. Some of you may have known that family. It's a family that started Jerry's Flowers, and it's a very important family in the county. And we really became friends with Bertha and Walter, and I think that they were the reason why for years and years we didn't even understand that there was a division between the people who came in summers and the people who were here year round. So this is dedicated to Bertha, born, bred, and buried in Door County. 10 years or more, we cycled by her farmhouse on Maple Grove Road each night and stopped to learn the best food to feed the baby cedar waxwing that flew in our window, the biggest zucchini she'd ever grown, the size of rocks she'd dug from fields as a child in the last century. In spring, we sat in her sugar shanty, waiting for the sap to boil down, drinking maple tea to the slightly German sound of her voice, telling stories of lives well lived within 30 miles of the house where she was born, reminding us of aunts and grandparents who humored us as children on small farms. We bought the apple crates she made from Butternut for everyone we knew, used them as bookcases, boxes, tables, kept the ones she signed for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Estella. Next, we have Wilda Morris.
Hello, I'm reading from Bolingbrook, Illinois. I think how I first learned about poetry in Door County was from looking at the website of the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets, because I'd been to Green Lake Writers Conference and met some poets from Wisconsin, and they told me about the wonderful fellowship they had. And I think that's where I first saw the announcement of a poets retreat taking place in Door County. So I responded to the announcement on the website and asked if I could get in on this event, even though I didn't live in Door County. And I don't remember how long ago this was, but 2 or 3 decades. And almost every summer since then, I've spent 2 or 3 weeks in Door County. Sometimes at the clearing, sometimes at Bjorklanden, sometimes renting a house and or a room in a house. So I really fell in love with Door County. But this poem comes from when the Poets Retreat met at St. Joseph's Retreat House. And I just happened to be a Baptist, so it was interesting to me to attend this event in what had been a convent, I believe, St. Joseph's. It's called Finding Color at St. Joseph's, 2007. I enter the spare brown room, hang the gray towel and washcloth I've been issued, ready for a weekend poetry retreat. Unable to read the Greek lettering on the icon, I don't know if it's Jesus or some severe saint eyeing me from his nail on the wall over the desk. The crucifix hanging at the foot of my bed reminds me not to complain at my meager sufferings. I pull back the dark bedspread, exposing green sheets, not hunter green, nor any green found in a pack of 24 children's crayons, but a sensuous, almost obscene green, somewhere between lime and chartreuse. Perhaps, I think, just perhaps, I could be a nun after all. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Wilda. Next, we have June Nerschel.
I am here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you
June.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, my ties to Door County go back to the time when I was a college student, and there were 2 summers that I worked in Ephraim, and I saw it then as a summer helper at a time when people didn't have cars and didn't flit around the county, entertaining themselves between their waitress jobs. And then later as an adult, we passed through many times, briefly in Door County, and always remembering the good memories it brought. But I've lived here now for 20 years, and I've had a chance to think about it, which accounts for my poem, Door County Meditation. A young poet, admired beyond our county, fled, fearing it was a place suited for the dying. And so we will, each of us, die, as we toss his dread into the breezes gusting across the bay, across the vastness of the lake. Harbored here, we breathe deeply in stirring air, see the greens let loose below the arching temple of the day. We walk in solitude at will, easing into nature at ground level, transfixed by moments claimed by deer, eagle, and hawk. We choose another path and find the air alive with the sense of nature, pungent and addictive. To this we return, forever tourist on the peninsula, given to gently shaping us, even as we offer some part of ourselves to keep this place in our blistered planet alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, June. And I don't know if you can see all the hands clapping since you are not on video, but thank you so much. Next, we have Tom Davis.
Hi, Ethel and I are living in Sturgeon Bay these days. We're coming up to Door County for a lot of decades. I have a new book coming out. I just found out today it's going to be out November 17th, I guess. Meditation on the Ceremonies of Beginnings, about the tribal colleges and the World Indigenous Nations Higher Education Consortium movement. It is poetry. It's by Tribal College Press. This particular poem is about Southern Door, and it's about a gentleman over there planting the wings of monarch butterflies. In southern door, an aging man, face fixed, pulled up beside a country road and walked toward a wooden fence where milkweed mixed with grass and weeds falls fiery colors stalked into a forest weave of summer green, the seasons changing, etched into the day. Beside the fence, a man bent down, serene, intent on picking milkweed pods, a vague gleam in his eyes. He got into his car and drove until he found an empty field, stopped, pulled a pod out of a mason jar, and freed milk fluff into a wind that wheeled time through the winter to a glorious spring that sprung a summer graced with monarch wings.
Thank you, Tom. Next, we have Phyllis Wax.
I am in Milwaukee. I had a number of visits to various places in Door County. One of those places being Nancy Rathel's South Nest, where Wilda Morris had rented a room at the same time. And so we really got to know each other. And I started out by going to the poets' retreats that Wilda talked about at St. Joe's. Welcome back to Bailey's Harbor. Are they still hiding among the shadows and behind the dusky trunks of tall evergreens? Why didn't they come running to greet me in their scatterbrained way? Why didn't they stamp the dry cedar needles from their scrawny feet and flap about to let me know I'm welcome after I've driven so far to see them? Why do they play so hard to get that flock of wild turkeys? Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Next, we have Jude Genero.
Maybe.
Am I on? Am I there?
We hear you.
Yep, we can hear you, Jude.
Okay. This one, well, I live up in northern Wisconsin now, but I lived in Door County for nearly 20 years with the love of my life, and I learned a lot about the county, even though I had been coming there for many years before that. I think 1972, my family and I started camping there. And then I moved to Door in 1998 or so and was there till 2013 when he passed away. And now I'm up north where my family is, which makes sense. But I come back to Door often and have many ties there with people I care deeply about, as I do the island itself. This poem was inspired by the last workshop I attended with my better half. And it was on Washington Island, and it was titled 8 Ways of Looking at an Island. 8 ways of looking at an island. 1, islands appear to stand alone, though are made stable by forces unseen underwater. 2, getting to an island depends on whether it allows you to arrive. 3, islands don't always let you leave, even when it's essential that you must. 4, you can't always get what you want on an island. Sometimes you get what you need. 5, to be most secure, an island needs to be firmly rooted in bedrock. 6, once you bind yourself to an island, you might find yourself content to be alone. 7, choose the circumference of your island cautiously, for you'll be traveling in circles the rest of your life. 8, island time may be in your soul, but not your employer's. The end.
Thank you, Jude. Next, we have Ann Heisey.
Hi, I was a summer person in Door County for my entire life. My grandparents, I came up from age 1 on. 5 years ago, we moved to Bailey's Harbor. But Door County for me always meant nature, meant the water, meant the beach, meant the walks in the woods. And last year, just about this time, I took a substitute teaching job in Sebastopol. And so I learned a little bit more about Door County people than I ever had before. Specifically, I kind of felt like a city girl meeting a country girl, and I learned a lot from those students. So, hence this poem. Teaching for a semester at Sebastopol High School. Just this morning, John was 7 miles out on the lake in fog, netting salmon, only 1 hour late to school. Caleb had been at work for 3 hours before he sits in the desk where I tell him there is value in books. He does not believe me. He prefers to sit behind the wheel of a tractor, happy in a field to plow, happy with cows to muck up his boots. These, not his grades, make him proud. I learned a new word from Maddie. It is the bellowing of lambs that wake her. Her goats, she tells me, have taught her life lessons. No one will care for them if I don't. There are always complications. Doing things right is important. Lily feeds chickens, guinea fowl, and peacocks. She has named each one. Their hands are dirty with life. They watch good things grow. They nourish, feed, and gather. They are unaware of the metaphor. I too plant. Perhaps they will teach me the secrets of good yields. Thanks.
Thank you, Ann. Next, we have Marianne Hurt.
Am I good now? All right, good. Hi, I'm Marianne Hurt. I live in Elkhart Lake, but I spent a lot of time in Door County at the clearing, where I really love to learn to love the stars. And I really love that that the Newport Beach is a dark sky park. And so this is about the dark skies and the stars. This title is The Luminosity of Salt-Studded Skies. I believe that night full of salt tumbling through the sky spilled celestial taste. How it filled me, made everything supremely alive. My earbuds, taste buds, even my skin became visionaries. Way beyond this galaxy, but steeped in the right here and now, but privy to horizons known only in silence.
Thank you, Marianne. Next, we have Heidi Ling, who is reading for Charlotte Johnston.
Hi, I'm Heidi's brother, David, and Charlotte's son. I just wanted to give a little background before Heidi reads Charlotte's poem. Charlotte's been coming up to Door County for many years, and starting with the first trip, staying in the lighthouse in Peninsula State Park, and then 4 decades, perhaps, a homeowner as a home away from home in Ephraim from Madison area. And now it's probably more of a home, although the 3 of us on camera tonight are sequestering in 3 different places in the state at the moment. So we all are very overjoyed to be a part of this wonderful book and be able to be part of this reading. Fear Ball is the topic of my mom's poem that was selected. And a little background, For us as a family, it was always around Father's Day, and we would come together around that time and sometimes celebrate Fear Ball and Father's Day on the same weekend. And it always meant a lot to be part of the activities throughout the day and then the bonfires at night. And so this is capturing, my mom's poem is capturing kind of the feel of one of those experiences.
Storm warning on Fear Ball. Rolling winds from Escanaba tumble down toward the Breadloaf Peninsula of Eagle Bay. Cauldrons of Ephraim waters erupt angrily, washing white boulders onshore. Fierce wind gusts challenge purple martins seeking shelter in their high-rise condominiums. Fat clouds darken and bellow, raining down torrents of fury on tourists scurrying for cover. Car doors slam, artist tents collapse, food tables topple, summer solstice surrenders. Its damage done, the summer storm climbs the bluff between two churches, hoping for redemption. Hi, Mom.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Next, we have Ethel Mortensen Davis.
This poem, the little background about it was, we went up for Art Speak up to Newport Beach and to write about the full moon. But that night we had a very bad rainstorm.
Huh.
Blackberry moon at Newport Beach. Blackberry moon, moon of the blackberry month, snags at me, rips at my skin. Stargazers come and get caught in her sweet clutches, but are overtaken by a storm with brittle, scratchy fingers of lightning that blackens out the moon. Now we must wait for the harvest moon as she ripens on top of the waters. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethel. And I will remember that evening writing in the nature center instead of out on the beach looking at the full moon. And our final reader this evening is Paula Kosin.
Hello, everybody. I am Paula, and I'm from Downers Grove, so the western suburbs of Chicago, but I consider myself a Wisconsin wannabe. And my first introduction to Door County was about 20 years ago in a writing class with Norb Bly. So, you know, at the Clearing. So not hard to get hooked on the Clearing and Norb and Door County. As far as the poem, you know, often you can experience something and months or even years later, the memory of it reemerges, and it reemerges in the form of a poem for some of us. Last November, I was up in Door County working on a project at the Clearing, and one of the things that I had on my bucket list for that particular visit was to go and check out a stairway that had been built into the bluff, the Niagara Escarpment, at Port de Mort Park, which is between Gills Rock and Northport, where the ferry is. And it was funded by a lot of people and organizations, but it was so that the dive club up in Door County could get their equipment to the water level to go scuba diving in a safe way. But it also has provided access to the public. And I'd heard about it. It opened up in 2018. And so in November of 2019, I went there, and then it was interesting because then when the call went out for this anthology about hidden places in Door County that most people don't know about, I reflected on everything that I knew about Dor, and I thought, this is what I need to write about. And so that's how this particular poem was born. I call it Pilgrimage. You think the wiggly road that finishes off the final miles of Highway 42 is just the best thing you had ever seen. But did you hear? It has now slipped to a close second place. To find the new upstart, walk to the edge of the parking lot at the Liberty Grove Town Park. Feel the insistent breeze as your ears catch the roar of waves 30 feet below. Know you are standing on the Niagara Escarpment. This sacred ground, this entire peninsula, is an integral segment of the spectacular geological formation that arcs up through Michigan's Upper Peninsula, crosses the Great Lake called Huron, dives into Ontario, and yes, causes the mighty Niagara River to fall. But you are here now, and to your left, they appear. Stainless steel stairs glinting in the filtered sunlight, beckoning to an adventure unexpected. Here you can descend the cliff face 50 steps or so with ease. Do not hurry. Take each step reverently. Allow yourself to be fascinated by stratified rocks looking like they were carefully laid by a stonemason, by the gnarled gray trunks of the weathered cedars growing out of the bluff horizontally and at other unbelievable angles from resisting the unrelenting gales from the north, and by the exposed roots snaking in all directions, defiantly clutching to lichened rocks and moss-kissed boulders. When you reach the bottom, you become one with the waves. Whether gentle, soothing, lapping, or angrily explosive on this day, you seek a place to sit a long while, to hear what the waves have to say, to listen to the wind stirring in the cedars, to sniff the air, focus your gaze on the horizon, and tenderly caress the ancient Dolomite rock. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. And now, Estella, if you have any words for after the last reading, otherwise we can open it up to comments and questions from our listeners.
Let's do open it up. I have a couple of other poems from people who are not ever going to be able to join this process because they're in scan, and one can't go in or out of scan to do the recording. But let's see what questions people might have, and maybe there are questions from the poets too.
I have one. You hear me?
Yes, Sola.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and I've been at the Rushes for years, and that's how I know Door County. I want to buy this book. How do I do it?
Sola, you can order it through Right On's website or through any of the Door County local bookstores, including the gift store at the Clearing has it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any of those options.
Appreciate it.
You can also order it through Four Windows Press, which is the press that published it. And I want to give a shout out to Tom Davis, who has just been wonderful. Without him, we really could not have managed to get this published, especially during the COVID year. So thank you, Tom.
My question is, was Zola a plant?
No. Was I a plant?
Oh.
And any other questions, comments, just unmute your mic and join the conversation.
Jude?
I'm just struck by the deep connection everybody has to Door County, whether it's family traditions, and many of us have that in the decades that many of us have been coming to Door County. It's a second home, maybe a first home. It just came through so much with the readers, the passion for Door County.
Jude, when you wrote your poem, were you thinking a little bit about the poem about blackbirds by Wallace Stevens? It sort of
No.
had some echoes of that.
Well, thank you. I don't know that poem, but I was thinking a little bit about Norbert, actually. The man always thought he was an island, but he never was. All of us and many of you were pillars for Norbert. But I'm going to look that up, Tom. Send me the title, please.
I'll do that tomorrow.
I would have a comment to Paula. Please don't share any more of our secret places. We want to keep them secret.
Jude, don't think I didn't think about that, because I had another couple ideas, like Jens Jensen's Cliff House at the Clearing, but I decided not to do that one.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all. I liked it that we were both
And
thinking about
Paula,
Newport Beach.
you had asked.
Pardon?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear that.
Say again, Marianne.
Oh, I just said, Ethel, I like it that we were both thinking about Newport Beach, or not Newport Beach, but Newport Park.
A question of, is it Don Johnston and Heidi? Is Charlotte Johnston your mom? Did something happen to
Yes,
Charlotte?
Charlotte is our mother. And
Charlotte was in my very first class at the Clearing, and I've lost touch with her. So I'm wondering why she's not with us.
It's very noticeable.
she is here. We were concerned about some connectivity issues, but she's here.
She's in the Zoom.
She's in the Zoom.
Hello, Charlotte.
Yes, hello, Charlotte. I remember meeting you at Poets Retreat. Would have been nice to see you.
Yeah, so you're talking about the St. Joe's retreats? Because I know that
Yes,
you and
yes,
I
at
went for
St.
years, and Charlotte, I remember you too.
yeah.
Hello, Jude.
Ah,
She is.
there she is.
She is here. There you go. And why is Nancy Raphael being so quiet?
Yeah.
Well,
Quiet.
I can't keep talking all the time, but I wish that Estella would say something about the collective itself and the work that we've done through time, and how there were different committees to do different things, you know, and how people have just stepped up. Tom with the publishing, and people just getting in there to make sure that we put out another quality publication. So Estella, could you talk a little bit about that, the committees and such?
Yeah. So there are now 17 or 16 people actually involved in one way or another with the collective. And I think maybe about 10 of us met originally to, actually we were talking about the Peninsula Poet page that we have been able to get the Peninsula Pulse to do. And I think it was Tom Davis who said, well, why don't you publish another anthology? And we said, how would we do that? And he said, well, I would be glad to be the press for it. So that really got us going, thinking about it. And then we had other meetings to determine a theme for it and to send out the call and so on. And then once the poems came in, we divided up responsibilities. I think there were 7 readers this time. Imagine getting 7 people to agree on poems. But it's been a really, really wonderful process. It's been so exciting each time we've done it. So each person rated each poem that came in according to 5 different criteria. And Donna Johnson was our wonderful secretary who, added up all the scores and so on. And then we took the ones at the top first and went through them. But then there was another whole process. I think we met 3 different days for very long meetings and put together the sections, the themes, the selection of phrases that identify each section. And actually the order of the poems was all done by 7 people. And then I think there were 4 or 5 others, maybe even 6 others who did proofreading. And I think there were 3 stages of proofreading. And then of course, galley reading, 3 or 4 people who worked on that. And Nancy has headed up our marketing team, which includes Annette Grinseth, a new member of the collective, and Tom Davis. And actually, Paula has chipped in a number of ideas, particularly about how this should go on social media. So it really has been an exciting process. And I'm so glad that we did it during this COVID year, when politics has been so incredibly crazy, because it's been, the thing that sort of anchored me in humanity as something that I could still love. And I think it's been true for working as well. So I think we could give a big shout out to poetry for bringing sanity back into our immediate world. It's been great. And thanks to everybody who participated.
Can I just add one addition?
Other question?
There was also photo selection.
Pardon?
Involved, because there are many good Door County poets. And
Yes.
And we had a lot of back and forth choosing photos, and I don't, Estella, you might have something more to say about whether they represent Door County, but not necessarily illustrating the poems. Can you say more about that?
Right. Yeah. So we decided that we had wonderful, wonderful photos that came in that sort of really stood alone. They were almost poems in their own right. I hope you'll go back and look at them. And particularly, for some reason or other, there were quite a number of photos of cedars. And the cedars were so different from each other, and they were so complicated and complex. And we really, felt as if these photos that were like poems really should be there, rather than choosing the photos that might have illustrated poems specifically. We could have done that in some cases, but it was actually hard working with the Zoom medium for sharing photos and making decisions about them. So that process was the most difficult, actually. I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier because it was, I thought, awfully important at the time. But anyway, again, thanks for the contributions. And Len Villano, that photo that's on the cover to me is just absolutely stunning, as a kind of representation of not only something that people from outside the county almost never see because they don't come here in that season as much, and because those moments really only last a day or two. You have to be right there to catch the phenomenon, right when it occurs. And so some of us didn't even see what happened to those trees along the Ephraim shore.
And just Stella, I'm wondering if you or someone else from the collective could talk about, well, one of the things that I thought was so exciting about this anthology was to have students' work included. And I'm wondering about that process of how you got the students to submit work and what excited the reviewers about their work, and if they, discovered anything about youth in Door County as a result.
Yeah. Anne, would you like to talk about that? Anne Heisey? Is she still there? Is Anne there? Can you see? I can't tell.
I think we
Anne
lost.
was teaching at Sebastopol.
She's gone, Estella.
Okay. Anne Heisey was teaching at Sebastopol School, and she was teaching English. And I do not know how she got the students to submit poems, but I think there were 4 or 5 students who did submit them. And they were all good. And as I said, the process of selection, it had to get by 7 people. So 2 or 3 of them did get in. And we actually ended the book with a poem from one of them. It's one of the most different poems in the book. I think it comes from an almost entirely different place than a lot of the poems do. But there were several people in the 7 who were just really charmed by it and wanted its last line to be the last line of the book. And
What is the last line?
So we're hoping that it is about a little bit of heaven. So
the last line is
the
making me feel like I'm on the outskirts of heaven.
Oh, beautiful.
Paula, would you like to read the poem?
Yeah, because I think Leo Sanchez is the author of this poem, and it's called Lucy. I've been yelled at 3 times already for doing nothing. Just spinnies in the parking lot. I'm going in circles, no harm caused. My truck named Lucy with her bald tires tearing it up. Red sun shining on the blue metallic paint. Rumble of motor, snow and dirt flying. Chevy logo spinning around like a dial. Thick white smoke pouring like thunder and rain, making me feel like I'm on the outskirts of heaven.
Beautiful. Oh.
Love it.
Yeah. And, you know, where could he do this? Could he do this in Milwaukee? I don't know. It just seemed as if it was something that you could do in a place like Door County. We liked it.
I was hoping maybe someone would read Phil's poem, since the book is dedicated
Sure.
to him.
Yeah.
Yes, Estella read it
Nancy,
last night at
would you
the
like
open
to-
house for the for Right On. It would be good to hear it again.
Right. Nancy, do you have it there?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Do read it.
But I think, Jude, would you want to read it? It's on page 36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta grab the book. Hold on.
Okay.
You
Well,
know
while
what?
she,
You know,
okay.
what, Nancy, why don't you read it? I don't want to slow this down, and you are more
Okay.
familiar with it, so I would prefer to
Okay.
read it.
By Phil Hansotia. The poetry of Norbert Bly. He left noiselessly, taking his sense of poetry with him. He sat in those words. For him, his cup of coffee was a poem. The unfinished moon and the howl of a coyote, a poem. A fallen tree and a crow complaining of his presence, a poem. He drew stick figures and spoke sentences that dangled and floated like fragments in the wind. He called that a wind poem. For him, sunrises, old men, ripe apples, an old typewriter that could speak no more were poems. The last time I saw him, he was at Scant. He could not speak, but squeezed my hand. I left without a word. The next day he died. I suppose that was a poem too. Yeah.
If I could add something. I was there when Phil was there visiting with Norv that last day, and when he came out, I left them alone and went out in the hall. And when Phil came out, he said that he was leaving, and that he had his, they have a day of clairvoyance, is the way Phil explained it to me, when they're able to see clearly a number of things. And they did talk a little bit, but very little. But Phil warned me. He said, this is, we're in the final day here, and he was gone the next morning.
Yeah.
And that was
But
the last time
he's
I saw
still
him.
with us. He's still with us.
You got that right. Yeah.
He was gone the next morning, and Jude, you were there with him the whole time.
Yeah, I snuggled in under his armpit all night, so that's the way it's gonna be.
Oh, memories.
Yeah, he's everywhere indoor, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to say one more thing. I don't know how my hand raised when they were looking for somebody to get all the contributor copies out, but that was interesting to do. And through it, I met virtually and in person a number of the poets that I did not know. So I'm you know, although there were times I grumbled about it, I enjoyed the task, and I feel I have, you know, 65 more people that I can call friends, and that I have met them. So thank you all.
All right.
Yeah, thank you all. Good show, folks.
Right.
Estella, do you want to close us out with one of the poets from Scandia who won't be able to take part in these readings?
Just unmute.
Okay. Yes, I would like to read Barbara Larson's poem, Windstorm Off the Bay. I think it goes with Charlotte's poem beautifully. And I think Barbara is our oldest poet. I can't remember whether she's 95 or 96 or 97 or 98, but she's up there. And just as beautiful as she has always been. It's really wonderful. But the rubric at the Meadows where she lives is that nobody comes in excepting the people who are serving food and meds and all that sort of thing. And nobody goes out. And their electronic situation is not great. So she was not able to join us on Zoom. Windstorm off the bay. Sound awakens me, powerful and steady, like monstrous turbines at work in the next room. Outside, a giant tree world writhes in frenzy. Lashing branches break and hit the roof. I hear the snarl of wind beyond the walls, relentless pounding of the waves below the cliff. My mind struggles to cope with elemental forces, overwhelming power. Will the house stand firm? Pursued by weather wolves, I dig beneath the covers and flee into the sanctuary of sleep.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Estella. There any final comments or questions? Otherwise, we'll end this evening's reading.
I think we all want to give a round of applause to the collective for doing this and putting together a beautiful book and a wonderful reading.
Nice.
Let's do it again.
Thank you.
So nice to see all of you.
Nice to see you all.
Right.
Good job, everybody. This is Carol Lee. Thank you so much.
Keep writing.
Right on.
Righty.
Right on. Bye, goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.